So far this NBA offseason, we've seen teams getting fleeced, we've seen players and picks getting traded left and right, as well as players signing massive contracts. All the while, the Dallas Mavericks just really haven't made any motion so far, just rumors and rumblings. Jerami Grant is a player that's been linked to the Dallas Mavericks over the last few days, and we do have an update on that situation and how close to reality that trade could actually happen. As well as we do have an update on Tim Hardaway Jr. potentially being traded to the Detroit Pistons. But how's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavericks Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before we start with today's video, if you guys could just smash that like button, if we can get to 300 likes, I'd appreciate it greatly. Helps grow the channel. We're on the road to 15,000 subs. I'm at 11K right now, but every like helps, and I appreciate it greatly. But like I said, the Dallas Mavericks really haven't made a lot of motion so far. We've just been inquiring about certain players, just kicking the tires around. And with all these reports, you got to take it with a grain of salt, and you can't really be too high on a lot of things. And for example, just the other day, there was a report coming out that the Dallas Mavericks were interested in Kevin Durant. Who isn't interested in Kevin Durant? If he's being made available by the Phoenix Suns, everybody's going to ask about Kevin Durant. I mean, you'd be crazy not to. So certain players, it's a little bit far from reality of us being competitive enough in a trade package to acquire someone like a Kevin Durant versus a player like Jerami Grant, where it's a little bit closer to reality and something that could actually happen. And Jerami Grant, who we've gone over already on this channel, is a forward that I think would definitely help the Dallas Mavericks on the offensive end. Might need a little bit of help on the defensive end. His rebounds are pretty low for a forward, only about 3.5 rebounds a game. But he is playing alongside DeAndre Ayton, so maybe in our system, he would get more rebounds. Maybe he'd get a few more shots. He does shoot the three ball very well. And all in all, he would be a great addition to this team as long as we don't have to give up too much for him. But we do have an update showing that the Dallas Mavericks called the Portland Trail Blazers about Jerami Grant, and the Blazers weren't interested in their initial offer. So what that tells me is whatever we gave them, it just wasn't enough, but it doesn't mean the door is closed on this deal. We can still make it happen, whether we have to add another young player or another draft pick, a future draft pick. We only have 2 first-round draft picks, the 2025, I want to say the 2030 first-round draft pick, that we can actually move this offseason after the draft tonight. And we got to be careful with it. I know some people want us to use those picks to try to get somebody in the draft now, which isn't going to help us, especially since the first round was yesterday. We got the second round today. There's no point in moving up in this draft. There is no player available left that could really help this team right now. You're not going to find another Derrick Lively in the second draft. Or in the second half of the draft. It's just not going to happen. But the picks that we have should be used on players that can help us and help Luka and the team right now. And Jerami Grant is definitely that player. But hearing that the initial offer wasn't really enough, it makes me believe that we're going to be a little bit more aggressive, especially seeing players like Mikal Bridges getting traded for a boatload of picks. When you see OG Anunoby getting a huge contract, a lot of these players are getting traded, they're getting re-signed, and the free agent market is slowly getting smaller and smaller. So I'm pretty sure Nico Harrison knows what needs to get done, and we should be able to, and we should see something done today, either before the draft or after the draft. But what does this really mean? Well, the other day, the Washington Wizards are trading for Deni Avdija to the Portland Trail Blazers for Malcolm Brogdon and the 14th pick tonight in the 2029 pick. So, our initial offer for Jerami Grant didn't really go through, right? But they traded for Deni Avdija, a younger forward. So maybe that means that the price for Jerami Grant may go down. I'm pretty sure a first-round pick, maybe even 2 first-round picks may have to get the job done. And in that case, if we are just exhausting all of our assets, we have to win soon. We have to win either this year or the next 2 years. Because Jerami Grant, he's on a contract where he's got another 3 years left. He's not known to stick around long for a team. He definitely just chases the bag. And we may not be able to afford him on whatever much that he wants. So if we do go all in for someone like Jerami Grant, we have to win now. The expectations would go through the roof. We're running out of young players. We're running out of draft picks. And we're honestly running out of time as Kyrie Irving gets older, as Luka gets older. And I'm not sure where Luka is as far as his patience. A lot of people are saying he may want to go to Denver and play with Jokic. I don't believe that. I want to believe that Luka and Kyrie will retire in Dallas. They'll have their statues up. That's a little pipe dream of mine that I have. But the truth is, in all seriousness, if we go all in for someone like Jerami Grant, if we exhaust our draft picks and our young guys, we got to win. It has to happen. But we do have somewhat of a report. Now, a lot of these reports that are unofficial, you got to take it with a grain of salt. We talked about dropping dimes the other day as maybe they know something, maybe they don't. But NBA Insider, it's not an official Twitter page, but they tweeted this out the other day. First, they said the Dallas Mavericks keep circling back to the fact that they have the capabilities to pull the trigger and offer something substantial that could entice Portland for the services of Jerami Grant. A formal approach could be made shortly. Following that up, he said Nico Harrison is high on Grant and believes he could be the missing piece to the puzzle. Dallas will conduct due diligence before zeroing in on negotiations with Portland should they decide to go down this path. Also, the Lakers haven't expressed interest in Grant as of yet. So there are, if this is to be true, take it with a grain of salt. It could be fake, it could be just parody, take it what you want, but let's take it on face value. If this is the truth, if Nico believes that Jerami Grant is a missing piece, then yes, I believe 2 first-round picks. You'll probably trade Jaden Hardy, maybe AJ Lawson. Omax may get traded too. Not saying I want this to happen because I want to keep Omax, but best believe that picks and young players will be involved to get someone like Jerami Grant. I don't think we're going to offload Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract over to Portland. I don't think they care for that. I don't think Maxi Kleber as well. I don't think he really has much value, but expect draft picks and young players if we are to go after someone like Jerami Grant. And if this is true, if Nico is high on him, he will make it happen. He will do whatever he needs to do. He doesn't have to go to Mark Cuban anymore. The new owners gave him full control of this team. And I believe in Nico Harrison. And Nico Harrison, we trust, is going to happen. But it's also good to know that the Lakers haven't expressed interest in Grant as of yet, meaning maybe there's not a lot of competition. Maybe we're not really trying to compete against other teams to get Jerami Grant, so the price may remain low. But that's all that we got to go over as far as Jerami Grant. Only time will tell what will truly happen down the road. But another thing that we want to look at is this right here, that Quentin Grimes is a potential outgoing piece in a trade to Dallas that would send Tim Hardaway Jr. to Detroit. We went over how Landry Shamet and the Washington Wizards was a situation that the Dallas Mavericks were looking at as a potential spot for Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't really high on Landry Shamet. I don't think he really moves the needle or really does much for us. But Quentin Grimes, in comparison to Landry Shamet, might be an upgrade. If we take a look at his stats right here, for the season, Quentin Grimes put up 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 0.1 blocks, 0.7 steals, 0.5 turnovers, and 1.5 fouls per game, while shooting 37% from the floor and 33% from 3. He shoots 35% on corner threes, 96% of his threes are assisted, and 73% of all shots are threes. In all intents and purposes, this is a poor man's Josh Green. I mean, I would take this over someone like Landry Shamet. Like I said, it's kind of Josh Green, just less efficient. The numbers are very similar, but Josh Green just is more of an efficient scorer, but just by his percentage numbers himself. But Quentin Grimes is a good defender. That's, I think, the selling point on Quentin Grimes is you got somebody who's a 6'5", he's long, he's fast, he's agile, he can defend. Not to the level of a Derrick Jones Jr., not to the level of a PJ Washington, but having someone who can play defense, who can do some of the small things off the bench definitely helps. Again, he's not the best shooter, shooting 37% from the floor, 33% from 3. Nothing really that you want to throw a first-round pick for. But if you're going to offload someone like Tim Hardaway Jr. to get a 24-year-old Quentin Grimes who does play good defense and can put up average stats, you kind of have to make that happen. But another thing that we definitely want to look at right here, just so I don't forget, is that Grimes only makes less than $3 million per season. So that would make it to where we can give Derrick Jones Jr. the full MLE, which is $12.9 million, which is the whole point of this. So when you look at the whole Quentin Grimes situation, why do we go after him instead of someone like Landry Shamet? It's, well, Grimes is on a very cheap contract. He got traded from New York to the Pistons at the trade deadline, only making $3 million per season. If we make this trade, if we can do it, because the Portland Trailblazers have a lot of cap space, you can definitely pull off a 1-for-1 trade. You don't have to make salaries match. You just trade Tim Hardaway. You get Quentin Grimes on a very, very cheap contract. You have money to pay Derrick Jones Jr., and then you package up some young players, some picks. Maybe you do throw in a Maxi Kleber or a Dwight Powell. You get Jerami Grant. And if we can do that, if we can keep the team as constructed and we get Quentin Grimes and Jerami Grant, I think that's a pretty good offseason. I said it a few months ago. I don't believe that this offseason was going to be one where we just make a huge splash, where we go after just big name free agents and we just really just make a monster super team. That's not what was going to happen. When you look at the landscape of the league, we can't really compete with teams like New York, who had a boatload of first-round picks to get Mikal Bridges. We also couldn't compete with Washington when they trade away Denny Avdija to the Portland Trailblazers for the 14th pick of this current draft. And as far as trade assets, I mean, the players that we have, there's Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, there's Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dante Exum. I'm not seeing his name float around in the trade market, but Dante Exum is up there too. Our bench players don't really have a lot of value, but you got to make do with what you can do. Nico Harrison is known to just make the impossible happen, and that's what you got to believe in. But another thing right here, with Mikal Bridges traded to their crosstown rival, the Nets will officially pivot into rebuilding mode. Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith are two players to monitor on the trade market who could return solid value for Brooklyn. Dorian Finney-Smith, one of my favorite Mavericks players over the last few years. I have his jersey hanging up in my closet. I would love to see him come home. Just come home as we're ready to win a championship. Come win a ring. Have your father sit there and watch. It's a feel-good story. I would love to see it happen. I think we could get Dorian Finney-Smith for the cheap. It would definitely help us in that forward position, whether he would probably be a backup forward, which is still fine too. I think Dorian Finney-Smith definitely can still play and help us to some degree, but he'd probably come off the bench, which would only help our bench depth. And Cam Johnson, a player who's definitely going to command first-round picks. If we have to throw a first, maybe a couple of seconds at him, you definitely do that too. He scores about 15 points per game. Just having another player like that doesn't score crazy high points, but someone who can at least score and add to our offense would definitely help. Could we get both these guys? I don't think so. Could we get one of them? I would love to see it. If we can still get Jerami Grant, trade for Quentin Grimes, and get potentially Cam Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith, that helps out a lot. That makes the Dallas Mavericks a deeper team. We have options. Our defense is still set. Our offense has gotten better. Our assets might be depleted, but we're looking to compete for the next few years, and whatever we do this offseason will set the tone because things have to happen. Teams are making moves. Players are getting traded. Players are getting signed to big contracts, and we have yet to make a move, and I'm pretty sure Nico Harrison understands that and is going to be way more aggressive in the upcoming days. We have the second round of the draft tonight. We have the very last pick of the draft, but I believe that something may happen. We may package that trade up with Tim Hardaway Jr. or with Maxi Kleber. I believe that we're going to move that pick because if we're not getting Bronny James, not saying Bronny James is a good pick for us, but if we're not going to get someone like Bronny James who we could then package somewhere else, whoever we do get with our pick will probably get stashed in the G League, probably just sit on the bench, not really be a factor. But like we've been saying, in Nico we trust. Something will happen, and we will be here to report it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for being as far to the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. Consider becoming a channel member. We are doing another giveaway. The winner will be announced the first week of July. The only way to win or enter our giveaway is to become a channel member of any tier. But until next time, y'all take care. Peace.